My name is Mark, I'm 23 years old, I'm Dutch, born close to Amsterdam, but I spend most of my weekends here and I worked here. So yeah, Amsterdam is like my second home really, my second home to home.
Hi, I'm David Swan, I'm what's known as an expat. I was born in South London and obviously from England. I've been living over here for nearly 3 years. I came over here just doing IT work and yeah, so far I'm enjoying it and still here.
If I go to Amsterdam, it's mainly to have a good time. So it's either to go out, to go to a coffee shop, or basically do whatever it is you want to do. And in Amsterdam that's possible, thank God. So I was brought up in a small town, there's not a lot to do there, so whenever I go to Amsterdam it's just to have a good time. Smoke some weed, drink a few pints, have fun.
Party in Amsterdam. You know, I drink coffee in Amsterdam, I walk around in Amsterdam, I cycle in Amsterdam, you know, so there's a lot of things that I do, and every now and again I like to get out of Amsterdam.
I was just thinking, what am I doing here? If I think about Amsterdam, and my main interest here is of course football. I mean, we're home of the greatest football club in the world, in my opinion, Ajax, so that's one big main interest when I think about Amsterdam. But basically, the interesting thing about Amsterdam is just that you can be whatever you want to be and do whatever you want to do, and that's good. So that's the good vibe. You know, you go to Amsterdam for a good vibe. That's what I feel. A good night out. That's it.
I'm interested in anything in Amsterdam itself. I like walking in Amsterdam, I like the small streets, I like to write, so I'm interested in the coffee bars, as in non-smoking coffee bars, where I can just sit and have a coffee and think.
Well, I take my coffee black as the way it's supposed to be. I think that's the easy one. But you know, I think it's a free country, so have your coffee any way you want to, especially here. Even if it's with milk and sugar, and, you know, all that other crap.
I like Buddhism and meditation, and there's centres here as well. There's a variety of different centres in Amsterdam that I can go to, so I feel I can have whatever I want. My interests are all met and they're all within kind of easy reach in Amsterdam. Coming from England, where prostitution is made kind of illegal and women are then kept on the streets, they're forced into drugs and also other possible illegal rackets, at least by I think having it open, in the open, it's legalised and it's also monitored, so therefore there's less harm done at least. And at least by being in the open, if there's opportunities for people who go into prostitution to move away from that, then that's all the better. And I find I really like that about Holland, the fact that it's there. It's there if you want it. If you don't want it, that's okay too.
Prostitution. Well, that's a typical question I hear as a Dutch person a lot, especially from non-Dutch people. But I think it's great. Seriously, I mean, you know, some people are not as lucky as other people, and when they need to get their business done, you know, it's nice that it's out in the open and not in some back street, and you know, everything is kind of regulated. You know, there are rules for hookers here. You know, they follow the rules, so it's really good. I like it. I mean, I've never been to one, if you believe that, but yeah, no, I think if people want to do their business in that way, go for it. And then of course the second question, how do I feel about the drugs and everything here? Well, that's of course, that's one of the main good things about it, the openness, and you know, that you can actually have to pick a coffee shop of your favorite, unless, you know, in other countries it's illegal, you have to find dealers, and now it's all in the open. You know, if you buy some shit in a coffee shop, you know it's going to be good, you know, no it's shit in it. And you know, I think we have had it now for a couple of years, decades, and it's kind of changing to, you know, people are wanting to stop it, you know, no more coffee shops, close all the coffee shops down because it's bad for you and that. But I feel that it's one of the most important things. You know, Amsterdam is an open city, and we should remain open, and we should have these things always here. It's part of our culture, really, especially the Amsterdam culture.
Dutch people, I don't know about Dutch people of Amsterdam. One of the things that I was conscious of whilst being out here in the companies I've worked with is what I perceived and what I heard was always sometimes I experienced more kind of subtle forms of racism actually, which I hadn't really experienced in England. And I hadn't yet, and I kind of, in one sense you say, oh, this is an open culture, and I know that people aren't aggressive in that sense. Maybe it's to do with size, or you know, people are kind of more protective of their space and that. But yeah, in the companies I work for, I've experienced, you know, there's mild forms of racism towards certain cultures, which I was kind of surprised about.
The Dutch people of Amsterdam, well, I think there's a really big difference between my generation and the older, say 40, 50 generation. I think they can be really cold, and the older generation. But the younger generation, like myself, like-minded people, I think they're really nice and outgoing and relaxed. But there is this really, really big difference between new Dutch, the new generation, and the older. And I think, as a foreigner, I think if you meet older Dutch people, they can be a little bit cold. Typical Dutch. They're not cold, really, per se, but they come across like it. And you have to, you know, look through that, look past that, and then they're really nice, because basically Dutch people are really open, but the older generation, I don't know why, they seem so cold, and that's a bummer, because it's not who they are, it's not how we are as Dutch people, Dutch citizens.